Welcome to the Left Library, where we simplify political philosophy, political economy, and political science. Today, we're diving into Karl Marx's Grundrisse, a collection of notebooks written between 1857 and 1858. These notebooks outline Marx's preliminary thoughts on political economy and the development of his critique of capitalism. Whether you're new to Marxist ideas or a seasoned scholar, this text offers crucial insights into the foundational concepts that would later be fully developed in Das Kapital. In this video, we'll explore several key concepts from Grundrisse, such as 1. Historical materialism and the method of inquiry. We'll discuss Marx's approach to studying society through the lens of historical materialism, emphasizing the importance of understanding material conditions and economic activities. 2. Labor and value. We'll delve into Marx's analysis of labor as the source of value and his critique of the capitalist system that exploits labor for profit. 3. Capital and its dynamics. We'll explore Marx's examination of capital, including its circulation, accumulation, and the inherent contradictions within the capitalist mode of production. 4. The role of technology and machinery. Marx's thoughts on the impact of technology and machinery on labor and production will be covered, highlighting the dynamics of technological change within capitalism. 5. Preliminary critique of political economy. Finally, we'll discuss how Grundrisse serves as a preliminary critique that lays the groundwork for Marx's later works, particularly Das Kapital. Historical materialism and the method of inquiry. Marx's Grundrisse begins with a detailed exposition of historical materialism. Historical materialism is a method of analysis that focuses on the material conditions of society as the foundation for understanding its development. Marx argues that the economic base, or the mode of production, fundamentally shapes the social, political, and ideological superstructure. He emphasizes that to understand society, one must start with the concrete realities of production and labor. In Grundrisse, Marx outlines his dialectical method, which involves analyzing the contradictions within the economic system to understand its dynamics and potential for change. He writes, "The concrete is concrete because it is the concentration of many determinations, hence unity of the diverse, p. 101. This approach allows Marx to uncover the underlying forces driving historical change, moving beyond superficial appearances to reveal the deeper structures of society. Marx's historical materialism is a response to previous philosophical approaches that prioritized ideas and consciousness over material conditions. He critiques the idealism of Hegel and the abstract economics of classical political economists, arguing that real change arises from changes in the material conditions of life. This perspective lays the groundwork for Marx's later analysis of capitalism, providing a robust framework for understanding social and economic dynamics. A central theme in Grundrisse is Marx's analysis of labor and its role in creating value. Marx argues that labor is the source of all value in a capitalist economy. He introduces the concept of abstract labor, which refers to the general homogeneous labor that creates value, as opposed to the specific, concrete labor that produces particular goods. This distinction is crucial for understanding how value is measured and exchanged in a capitalist system. Marx critiques the way capitalism exploits labor to generate surplus value, which is the difference between the value produced by labor and the wages paid to laborers. This surplus value is appropriated by capitalists as profit, leading to the accumulation of capital. Marx writes, "The surplus value produced by labor is the source of profit, rent, and all other forms of capitalist income, p. 247. This exploitation of labor is a fundamental contradiction within capitalism, as it leads to the enrichment of a few at the expense of the many." In Grundrisse, Marx also explores the concept of alienation, where workers become estranged from the products of their labor, the labor process, their fellow workers, and their own human potential. This alienation is a result of the capitalist mode of production, which treats labor as a commodity to be bought and sold. Marx argues that overcoming this alienation requires transforming the relations of production to ensure that workers have control over their labor and its outcomes. Marx delves deeper into the mechanisms of how labor is commodified in capitalist societies. He discusses how the value of a commodity is determined by the socially necessary labor time required for its production. This means that labor power itself becomes a commodity, with its value defined by the amount of labor required to reproduce it. The capitalist purchases labor power and extracts surplus value by making the worker produce more value than they receive in wages. Moreover, Marx emphasizes the role of the division of labor in capitalist production, which increases productivity but also intensifies the exploitation and alienation of workers. He notes that the specialization of tasks fragments the labor process, reducing the worker to a mere appendage of the machinery. This process dehumanizes labor as workers lose control over the conditions and products of their work. Marx writes, "Labor becomes a means to create value for capital rather than a means for the workers to fulfill their own needs and potentials." p. 260. Capital and its dynamics. Grundrisse provides a detailed analysis of capital and its dynamics, focusing on how capital is accumulated, circulated, and reproduced within the capitalist system. Marx examines the processes by which capital expands and intensifies its control over production, highlighting the cyclical nature of capitalist accumulation. Marx describes the circulation of capital through different stages: money capital, productive capital, and commodity capital, each stage involving the transformation of value. He writes, "Capital is not a thing, but a social relation between persons, established by the instrumentality of things." p. 320. This view emphasizes that capital is a dynamic process rather than a static entity, driven by the constant pursuit of profit and expansion. One of the key contradictions Marx identifies is the tendency of the rate of profit to fall over time. As capital accumulates, investments in machinery and technology increase, leading to a higher composition of constant capital, machinery, raw materials, relative to variable capital, labor. Since only labor produces surplus value, this shift results in a declining rate of profit, leading to periodic crises of overproduction and underconsumption. These crises reveal the inherent instability and unsustainability of the capitalist system. Marx also discusses the role of credit and finance in the capitalist economy. He explains how the expansion of credit can temporarily alleviate crises by enabling more extensive capital accumulation, but it also creates new forms of financial instability and speculative bubbles. He writes, "Credit becomes the means by which the contradictions of capitalist production are intensified, leading to more profound and extensive crises." p. 345. This analysis highlights the interconnectedness of different sectors of the economy and the complex dynamics of capitalist development. Furthermore, Marx examines the impact of competition among capitalists, which drives technological innovation but also exacerbates exploitation and inequality. He argues that competition forces capitalists to constantly revolutionize the means of production, leading to more efficient but also more dehumanizing forms of labor. This relentless drive for innovation creates a paradox where technological progress results in greater social and economic disparities. Marx concludes that the contradictions of capital accumulation and the falling rate of profit will inevitably lead to the collapse of the capitalist system. He envisions a revolutionary transformation where the working class, through collective action and organization, seizes control of the means of production and establishes a socialist economy based on cooperative labor and equitable distribution of resources. The role of technology and machinery. In Grundrisse, Marx extensively discusses the impact of technology and machinery on labor and production. He explores how technological advancements can increase productivity but also lead to greater exploitation and alienation of workers. Marx notes that machinery can displace labor, leading to unemployment and intensified competition among workers, which drives down wages. Marx argues that technology under capitalism is primarily used to maximize profit rather than to meet human needs. He writes, "The development of machinery in the capitalist system does not lead to the reduction of the working day, but to the intensification of labor and the extension of working hours." p. 403. This critique highlights the paradoxical effects of technological progress within a capitalist framework. While it has the potential to liberate humanity from drudgery, it is instead used to deepen exploitation. However, Marx also sees the potential for technology to be harnessed for the benefit of society if the relations of production are transformed. He envisions a future where advances in technology could reduce the necessary labor time, allowing individuals more freedom to engage in creative and fulfilling activities. This vision contrasts sharply with the capitalist use of technology, emphasizing the need for a revolutionary change to realize the emancipatory potential of technological progress. Marx further examines the role of automation and mechanization in transforming the labor process. He notes that machinery can enhance productivity by reducing the amount of human labor required, but it also intensifies the alienation of workers. In a capitalist system, the introduction of new technologies often leads to job displacement and increased exploitation, as capitalists seek to maximize surplus value by reducing labor costs. Marx writes, "The machine is a means for producing surplus value, a means of exploiting labor power," p. 415. Additionally, Marx discusses how the use of machinery leads to the de-skilling of workers, as complex tasks are broken down into simpler, repetitive operations. This process reduces the workers' autonomy and creative potential, making them increasingly dependent on the machinery they operate. Marx argues that this de-skilling is a deliberate strategy by capitalists to exert greater control over the labor process and reduce the bargaining power of workers. Despite these negative impacts, Marx envisions a socialist society where technology and machinery are used to enhance human well-being rather than exploit labor. He imagines a future where technological advancements allow for the reduction of the working day, giving individuals more time for leisure, education, and personal development. In this vision, technology becomes a tool for liberating humanity from the constraints of necessity, enabling a more equitable and fulfilling social order. Preliminary critique of political economy. Grundrisse serves as a preliminary critique of political economy, laying the groundwork for Marx's later works, particularly Das Kapital. In these notebooks, Marx critiques classical political economists like Adam Smith and David Ricardo for their failure to understand the social relations underpinning economic categories. Marx argues that classical political economy takes the capitalist mode of production for granted, treating it as a natural and eternal system. He writes, "Political economy has never been able to explain the specific historical character of capitalist production and therefore the necessity of its eventual transformation." p. 511. By contrast, Marx seeks to uncover the historical and social conditions that give rise to capitalism and its contradictions. Through his critique, Marx develops key concepts that would later be elaborated in Das Kapital, such as the theory of surplus value, the falling rate of profit, and the fetishism of commodities. Grundrisse is thus an essential text for understanding the evolution of Marx's thought and the development of his critique of capitalism. It provides valuable insights into the theoretical foundations of Marxist economics and the revolutionary implications of Marx's analysis. In Grundrisse, Marx explores the concept of commodity fetishism, where social relationships between people are expressed as relationships between things. He argues that in a capitalist society, commodities appear to have intrinsic value, obscuring the labor that produces them. This fetishism mystifies the true nature of economic relations, making it difficult to see the exploitation and alienation inherent in capitalist production. Marx writes, "The social character of labor appears as an objective characteristic of the products of labor themselves," p. 528. Furthermore, Marx critiques the classical economists' understanding of value, arguing that they fail to recognize the role of labor in creating value. He emphasizes that value is not inherent in commodities, but is a social relation arising from the labor process. This critique is foundational for Marx's later work in Das Kapital, where he elaborates on the labor theory of value and the dynamics of capitalist exploitation. Marx also addresses the limitations of bourgeois economic theories, which he argues are unable to account for the contradictions and crises of capitalism. He asserts that these theories treat capitalist relations as natural and ahistorical, failing to see them as products of specific historical conditions. By exposing these limitations, Marx aims to provide a more comprehensive and revolutionary critique of political economy, one that reveals the potential for transcending capitalism through collective action and social transformation. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Karl Marx's Grundrisse. Grundrisse is an essential text for anyone interested in understanding the preliminary thoughts that shaped his later works, particularly Das Kapital. For those new to Marxist theory, it offers a comprehensive introduction to key concepts such as historical materialism, the labor theory of value, the dynamics of capital, and the impact of technology and machinery. For those already familiar with Marx's ideas, Grundrisse provides deeper insights into the development of his critique of political economy and the revolutionary implications of his analysis. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and fellow enthusiasts of political philosophy, political economy, and political science. Don't forget to subscribe to the Left Library for more in-depth reviews and discussions on influential works in these fields. Click the notification bell so you never miss an update. We simplify political philosophy, political economy, and political science to make them accessible and engaging for everyone.